Yeah, with community music engagement. Yeah,
Oh, right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's been a long day. I'm saying
So greetings, everyone. Welcome from, in my case, sunny Pittsburgh, and from your case, all over the world. We already got friends on the meetup from Australia and places far and wide. So welcome to all of you. It's November, November 10th or 11th, depending on where you are living right now. And this is meetup number 16. Is that right, Veronica?
17.
17.
17.
Crazy. And so it's the 17th meetup, and we already have a really nice group. So I would just want to remind everybody that we are recording the session today, and we're going to post it. And so if you want to not be on the recording, you should close down your video part and maybe just eavesdrop in. But we're really happy to see faces and to see names and to meet all sorts of friends, new and old. Our routine, first of all, I'm Stephen Neely. I'm in Pittsburgh and at Carnegie Mellon University, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Veronica Bileski.
Hello.
In Boston, and Emma Shubin. Is Emma on the call yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. We were just talking with her 5 minutes ago. She'll be here at some point. Emma at Integral Steps in Colorado. And so we are really excited to welcome everybody to November and some sharing sessions, some sharing time. Our routine has been to try to meet each other a little bit, and we don't have time for everybody to say hi to everybody, but we do have time to throw you into a breakout room, which I'm going to create as we're talking here. And in your breakout room, I'd like you to say hi to the different people that are in the room. You're supposed to introduce yourself, say where you are located, and who do you teach. Name, location, who do you teach? You got 3 minutes for 4 of you to greet yourselves. You ready? Everybody, go. Okay, everyone. Well, we are back, and hopefully you met somebody from far and wide and just got a sense as to a little bit of who this community is. We have our normal format is about 5 minutes a presenter. We let them share a little bit of what they're up to, and then we have a nice little chunk of time at the end for a conversation. So that discussion can be either about what the presenters shared. So we have questions or comments or things to add or ask. And then there's also oftentimes a little bit of time for some others. And so if you have other things you would like to talk about or ask questions about or brainstorm about, this is why we're together. So I hand over to Veronica, who I think will introduce our presenters.
Okay, and we'll just do announcements at the end. So today we're going to hear from Catherine, whose presentation title is Visual Stimuli for Group Movement Composition, Car Badges and Kandinsky. And then Kay is going to present for us a tour of sevenths and seventh chords, I believe. So you each have 5 minutes, and after that we'll have a discussion. So go ahead, Catherine.
As we discussed, could I have a little bit more? Because I'm
so sorry. Yes.
Is that
totally.
Right?
Go for it.
I'm not doing one exercise. I'm sort of doing 2 terms work, one pre-lockdown and one post-lockdown.
All right.
So
2 terms in 10 minutes. I think we're still going to be impressed.
Thank you. So this is a project that I did last year on improvising movement sequences, which is something I know I've struggled with personally when a teacher just says, and make up a movement sequence with no music. It's something I really haven't liked. So, and I know that I haven't taught it very well either over the years, but last year I hit on something courtesy of my son, my 8-year-old son, who just had a conversation about cars. So I thought I'd run with the idea. So this was for a class of 8 to 11-year-olds at the Junior Conservatoire that I work in London. So very able musicians, but totally new to Dalcroze. And my starting point was something well known in everyday life, but looked at in a different way. And that's the logos of car companies, those badges they have on the front of vehicles. Now, I'm an avid cyclist. I don't like cars very much, so other forms of transport are available. That's my little disclaimer. But these logos are so iconic, and the children knew them really, really well, and they were a great starting point for improvisation. So I'm just going to share some pictures for you. Hopefully this will work. Okay, so hopefully you can see, oops, sorry, some car badges, and you may need to move the gallery bar around on your screen so you can see them. So I'd like to invite you to choose one and immerse yourself in it. Has it got any straight lines or curves? Any interesting angles? Would you mind standing up, please, and tracing the shape in the air? And how does it move? What's its energy? Could you try it with your elbow? Lovely. Brilliant. Okay, now could you take the idea of the shape? So not necessarily tracing the actual shape that you see, but it's kind of what it's about. So maybe it overlaps, or maybe it's got circles, and repeat that motif. So make it an extended phrase with a dynamic interest. So maybe start pianissimo and do a big crescendo, or maybe do a sudden accent in the middle. So you're extending your phrase. Oh, it's so gorgeous to watch. Thank you. Lovely. I would give you more time, but I know that we're on a time scale. So that's your section A, your extended phrase of one of those logos. And they may be familiar to you, or they may be different in your country, and that's totally fine. So now section B, choose a different logo. Give it a different energy, maybe a different body part. And then link your two together. So you've got your section A segueing into your section B, and then give it a lovely finishing shape. I'll stop the share so that we can watch everybody. Oh, it's fantastic. Shall we just all do them together? So if we all start from a moment of poise and beginning, and then just be aware of everybody else on the screen as you just do your little phrase. Off you go. I just want to sit here and watch you all day. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. Well done. Sit down. Lovely. So with the children, and this was when we were in the room before COVID hit, I paired them up so that they could work together. So they had their A phrase, they taught their A phrase to their partner, and that's where the A and B came from. So they both had ownership of this little, I ended up doing a ternary form, ABA, and they were performing it in unison together, learning each other's. And what was so wonderful for me was to listen to them, how they explained what they were doing. There was one child who did the Audi circles, and they started so pianissimo with tiny circles, and as they did their crescendo, more and more of the body got involved, and they were just discussing, even though they'd not done much movement before, they were discussing things in such a musical way. And I think there was something really strong about their commitment of performing these phrases too, because it wasn't something personal, because it was a visual image that they were representing. I found, and just very simple images of just black and white and straight lines and circles, I found that they really went for it and performed it with much more commitment than I think they would have done if I'd said, could you do something with your knee on its own? And then we turned it into a group composition where everybody's ideas featured. There were some unison sections, some solo sections, and of course at this moment there had been absolutely no music at all, but lots of musical conversation about shape and time space energy and dynamics and quality. And I'd organised an older group of quite experienced clarinetists to come in and then improvise for what they saw with the younger children. They'd been prepped and all ready, and then literally COVID hit and the building was shut and we'd never got to quite finish the project, which was a real shame. And I've still not been back in the building. But what I'd like to talk about now is what I did the following term when we were all working virtually. So these children had been through the Car Badges composition, and then we moved on to Kandinsky. So this is the same idea with a clear visual stimulus, creating a movement sequence from that, playing with the material, and finally adding the music right at the end. And I have to say that it was a VDM that made, when Charlotte did her graphic scores all those months ago, I was just planning my new curriculum, teaching virtually for the first time, and it was that seed of Charlotte's idea that turned into this. So thank you, Charlotte. I don't think she's here, but thank you so much, VDM in general. So let me just, if I share my screen again, and I'll show you the Kandinsky that I used. So that's the Car Badges. Next screen, here is the Kandinsky, free curve to the point. So again, if you sort of jump into that painting and imagine yourself moving those 6 elements that Kandinsky put into his painting, looking at the time space energy of those 6, which ones take up the most space, which ones are the heaviest, which ones float. And we spent a while talking about all of that and playing with the 6 elements. And their section A became those 6 elements in whatever order they wanted, using whole body. And so they were working individually, so their section A was practiced. Section B was a development of that, so they took their favourite section of those 6 elements and then played with it, made it with a different body part, made it different levels, just investigated it in many different ways, playing around with the time space energy and the dynamics and everything. And then they finished by recapping section A and had a nice coda and ending point. After they were happy with their movement sequences, we added music, but using household items to add small rhythmic interest to all the little phrases. And so we had everything from combs and perfume bottles to empty coffee capsules inside a cardboard tube, and water bottles. Somebody had 6 water bottles all filled with different amounts of water, so each one had a different melodic note. And one of my favourite ones was a French horn mouthpiece. So he made his sonatina for French horn mouthpiece, which was played with such conviction, I think because he'd moved it first. We then went on to using orchestral instruments and the piano if they wanted to, and took our improvisation on from there. And reflecting back, I would say that the pupils, I found them more inventive on their instruments, having gone through this movement sequence rather than just sitting down at the instrument first. And it's certainly for me a really positive side of working virtually, that everybody can practice their improv concurrently. And so I've done a huge amount of improv using Zoom that I never thought I would do. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Catherine, thank you so much. Really beautifully presented. Thank you for sharing. We'll talk about it soon. First, we're going to hear from Kay.
Okay, hello everybody. So I'm going to share a screen as well. Hang on, let me just try and here we go. As Veronica said, it's a kind of tour of 7. So I'm in Geneva at the moment. I'm studying at the Institut, and I'm actually a first study violinist, not a pianist. So I've had to work really hard on my improvisation. So this a lot of what I'm going to actually show you is quite basic. So many of you won't necessarily learn anything, but it's just a kind of whistle-stop tour of the various ways of using sevenths. I'm going to start off with the really simple one. If my presentation wants to move, oh, here we go. Yeah, so in cadences, so we're all very familiar with our cadences, I'm sure. And if you actually play a cadence 1, 2, 5, 1 chords without any sevenths, it's lovely. But with a seventh, have that little frisson, that je ne sais quoi, that kind of extra kind of quality to the sound. And of course, you can play it in different voicings. Simple use of a seventh on the second chord. Similarly, you can use, which I think is particularly nice, with in the third inversion. And again. So then we move on to, I told you it's a whistle-stop tour, didn't I? Then, of course, we can use a seventh in our sixth, which I'm sure we all use all the time. But for me, I sometimes have to be reminded of things that I can use when I'm improvising. So, you know, I could easily go for a day teaching my Guildhall School children on a Saturday without using the circle of fifths easily, but and of course you have them all in the different inversions, and they do sound different. And then the last one. So the next tour is the GAN, the scale, a descending scale. And this is something I hadn't done before I came to Geneva. And it's so beautiful. So this one again. And I've used the kind of the French way of labeling it, but basically you've got chord 2 in third inversion, dominant seventh in first inversion, chord 2 in second inversion, dominant seventh, chord 5 in second inversion, third inversion, first inversion, chord 1, and then the cadence at the end. But my favourite, the one I've actually used, I've only started using it in the last year or so, are the use of sevenths in kind of parallels, the use of major sevenths. So here I've just shown you, just changed keys because I just quite like D major. So going from chord 1, major seventh in chord 1, to chord 4. And then if you move parallel to an E flat, you've got a really lovely juicy chord, a juicy changer chord. And you just go to the 4 of that one. And then if you wanted, you could try another one. So let's try F. And for these, you can see it's very, very easy to play. Basically, I started off with a major seventh in just position, and you just literally, you haven't got to move across the keyboard, you're just moving within the same span. It's very, 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 very easy, and I hope you agree that it sounds nice. So I mean, for example, I used this when I was giving a class in Douze Cloches, so I use this, you know, with it. and so on. Yeah. So yeah, do you know what? It's 4 minutes and 50 seconds. So that's my massively quick whistle stop tour. I didn't go into anything in great depth, if you like, but I just hope that there's something there that you thought, oh, I'll give that a try, or oh, I haven't done that for a while. That I just hope you've got something out of it. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kai. That was awesome. It made me feel really happy. Like seventh chords always make me think of sunshine, especially the major ones. I was like, oh, here it is. Thank you. So there's been a couple requests from people. If you wouldn't, the both of you wouldn't mind sharing your presentations with us. I think people would love to take a look at them, not just in this live call, but we could send them out afterwards if you'd be willing. And at this point, are there any comments or questions about the presentations?
And so you just kind of wave in the screen or put your little blue hand up, and then we can give you a minute. Dory, you want to say hi? You have to unmute, Dory. You're still muted, Dory. You got to unmute. There you are.
So I have a question about the use of the tempo. Is there a particular reason that you're using the tempo as it is? Is there a special significance to whether it's fast or slow, or is it just automatic?
You mean the parallel seventh story? You mean the tempo? It's probably I tend to play rather fast and a bit, but no, there isn't any significance. You can play, you know, you could play this, you could create some beautiful.
So you're not looking for the tempo to obtain a particular movement.
No, I was experimenting with the kind of different sounds you can make, different qualities of sound, and I just really like that one. It was something actually in Geneva. Sylvie Morganet plays a lot of sevenths and ninths and 13ths, and I just really enjoyed listening to her. And to be honest, I've copied it. I just thought, oh wow! I just, you know, after watching her, I came back, tried out a few things. Oh, I like that. You know, I've been a bit boring with my harmony, so it's just a way to expand color. Really, that was the idea.
It's very good. Just in case there's anybody on the call who is maybe a little bit new to the Dalcroze ideas, tempo, I mean, any of the different subjects are things that we can mold into any of these ideas. And so Kay presented us with some really, you know, wonderful, beautiful ideas of how to change color and to play with harmony. And now that could be used in a tempo exercise, fast or slow, or really fast or really slow, or it could be something that had, you know, that was, you could use those ideas to explore any concept of dynamics or of form or of articulation or anything. Just the idea here is that we have some new vocabulary to keep the room feeling fresh and creative and vibrant. It was really lovely, Kay. Thank you so much. Are there other questions or comments about either of the presentations? Joanna?
Yeah, for Kay. So you use these progressions, they are wonderful. You use them for your playing, not for teaching seventh chords and voicing.
I've been using them for my rhythmics lessons. Yeah. Yeah.
Just for your playing, not for teaching a theory.
Yes, although exactly. Yes, I've been using them for for different rhythmic exercises. So, I mean, this one, you know, charge, so, you know. I won't do the charge, but you know, you can use them all for all these different things, and it's, yeah, I just feel so privileged because I've learned all this, you know, from being here.
They are beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. What else? Anita.
I'm guessing that we could find all sorts of different logos that we could use to get the children working along those lines. And I was just thinking about something to do with finding different letters of the alphabet, but using different logos. I mean, I'm afraid to say the first one that came to mind was McDonald's, but I'm sure there are lots of other things. You know, we could sort of find different categories, which might be fun as well.
Yeah, the cars were just, yeah, as I said, my son came up with the idea. We were walking to school one day and he was talking about the ergonomics of steering wheels. I don't know, it's not something I'm particularly interested in. And then he was talking about the shapes of all the different badges and how some of them are curvy and some of them, and I just thought, ooh, I could use that in Dalcroze. I only showed you a sample of what I showed my classes. We also had the leaping jaguar and other ones that the children just really enjoyed looking at. So yeah, so, and I think just stimulation, visual stimulation, I think was the key to their improv being really good.
I loved all of that. I loved both parts of your presentation, the logos and then the Kandinsky ideas. You know, we say at our school, which I'm sure is said in other places as well, all good teaching goes from the known to the unknown. And so the trick with anybody is figuring out what's the known. Getting to the unknown, it's easy to think of things nobody knows. Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to recognize, what do they know? What could we use as common ground? And so one obvious set of common grounds that the Dalcroze classes often use is just walking, because most of us can walk. And so we can start with something that is, you know, isn't particularly outrageous or scary. You know, it's just, I'm not asking you to do anything weird. I'm just asking you to walk around. And the lovely thing about those logos is that they're known for that community. It's not scary. It's not. It doesn't require any special skill. You know, it sounded the way you told the story that a majority of your students were familiar with a majority of those symbols, and so all of a sudden you had something that they recognized, and so they already have the buy-in, as opposed to, let's start with Kandinsky, where they were like, what is these weird abstract art, you know, things that I don't have no buy-in to? That's a harder sell. It's not impossible, and anybody's welcome, of course, to start with the most abstract. But a lot of times what we capitalize on is, what do you already know? What are you already familiar with? What are you already willing to participate in? And if I can just get you there, then it's easy to sort of spin it out into things that they had no idea they were about to do. And I loved your story of the pianissimo Aldi symbol that turned into something really grand. Because the odds are, as I play that story in my head, those students had no idea that they were 3 minutes away from doing some, you know, really big, creative, full body, immersive gesture class. They thought they were just playing around with car logos. But what we're able to pull out of them, because we found something that's in common, you know, I mean, that's the stuff. So I just really loved that. What else? Kay, did you want to say?
Can I just say about Catherine? I loved it as well. I really did. You know, uses car logos, and it was just a little anecdote that I chatted to one of my slightly less enthusiastic classes actually at Guildhall the other day, and said, "What can you remember we've done this term? What have we done?" It was the beginning of the second half term. That's right. And I said, "You know, what have we been doing?" And all they could remember was that we'd done 1 week. We'd done some shapes, some body shapes, some images, and they could remember the images. So you know, it's a really good idea. So thank you.
I was going to reply to Stephen. I think that as we get older as teachers, knowing what is kind of cool for 8-year-olds gets harder. So I'm really grateful to my 8-year-old for kind of keeping me with it.
Very good. Yeah, I think we all feel that with all the ages, for goodness sakes. Melissa, was your hand up?
Yes, just wanted to thank both Kay and Catherine for your ideas. And I wanted to just underscore how fun it can be to use Kandinsky actually for improvisation. I haven't used Kandinsky with children, but I've used Kandinsky paintings for conservatory students working with improvisation. And I usually start with some of his earlier work, such as this one. Can you see it okay? Because some of his works are so evocative and expressive, and if you've, I wouldn't use this on like a first improv class, but later on, after we've worked on a lot of things, phrasing and form and dialogues and things, this is a wonderful way in to create, and it's amazing what the students come up with. And then I would, later on, I might go towards some of the more abstract ones like you did. Here's one. So I have this whole wonderful old book of Kandinsky, and I'm finding it very useful, and just wanted to underscore that. So thank you.
Very good. Who else? Anna?
Oh. Hi. Yeah, just with Catherine, just came idea from the logos that for this age of year 6, 7, 8, when they start to use phones and mobile phones, I thought the logos of the applications, some like TikTok or Google Map, or I was just looking at my one, and I thought, oh, that's quite a lot of Safari, for example, a logo and things like that. That could be another thing of thinking about these moves, because it's familiar, like you said, Stephen. So that's, yeah, it comes kind of ideas now more. What else can I use it for movement? So thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, Adriana.
Yeah, I was using abstract paintings, Kandinsky and Paul Klee and Picasso. So everything what is more, even Dali, more abstract. Well, when I was teaching the Laban motion drives, so we found the equivalent. So, but that I was picking the paintings that I was thinking that illustrates more the Laban motion drives. And in one of the sequences I was teaching that, first of all, they had to pick what which painting do they like, and they have to explain why. So a little bit of aesthetics. And then they were listening to some music. They have to pair it up, the music with the painting. Of course, it's a lot of manipulating from my part, because it has to be very literal, whatever I do. And then the next step, it was with associating with the Laban motion drives, and students build with their bodies the paintings that they choose. So they have 4 or 5 people, and they paint, they build the shapes, and that is going to move, and from that improvisation. So it's a whole sequence, but basically used for Laban motion drives. It's also very helpful for them to understand. So.
Very good. What else? Laura?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I work with much younger kids, but I think on Zoom, this could have possibilities because it's such a clear image. I was thinking just to use less, but the car logos I thought were great because I liked the shapes. I had no idea which car was for which logo or anything like that, but I just liked the shapes a lot. And I think they maybe pick 3 of them or something and see what the kids would do. So I think it's really got possibilities. Can you send us the logos, or is there a way you could email that sheet of logos? That would be great.
Well, if you're able and willing, Catherine, or any presenter, if you send them to Veronica and me, we'll include them on the archive on the website. So you all can just have an easy link there to be able to see.
When we were doing our big group composition, I found the sort of landmarking of the logos really useful as well. So I could say, right, everybody go from the Unison Suzuki, and they'd all know where to go. It was like, let's all go from letter C. It was really similar. So there's something very kind of tangible about them as well.
Yeah, they're their own sort of choreography notation. I mean, they really give another way we talk about what we're doing here is we're trying to get these abstract concepts of music to be concrete. And so it's a really nice, like, there it is. There's a very clear arrangement of lines that makes sense to me in a way that just hearing sound around me might not have made sense. And we put those two things together and we hope to be a lot closer. Deborah?
I was just thinking that you could have them make up their own logos, devise their own shapes and logos.
That's outstanding. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're really here for. If you ask me, like right there, what Deborah just did, that's the thing. And so we're so thankful to presenters like Catherine and Kay for giving us the beginning of something. And then our job as Dalcrozians is always, now what are the 20 things I could do with that? When I'm teaching pedagogy, that's the prompt to all my students is, okay, we got a nugget of something. Again, I have a known to unknown. So I got my known, which in this case might be logos. Now, what are the 20 things you could do with that? And this idea of having them invent their own in graphic notation or just in choreography, you could picture it could start either way, right? You could give them like paper and pencil and have them draw it and then move it. You could also have them start from the movement side and now move it and then draw it. It could go either way, and there's advantages to either. How do you make it collaborative? How do we turn it into a quick reaction? How are we going to accompany it? How's the students going to accompany it? And the list should just go on and on and on as we go, which I think is what makes this work so super exciting, is that we, the teachers, as well as the students, get to continue to be creative and inventive and in the moment and present and acknowledging of each other's creativity. Thank you, Deborah. That's the stuff. Who else? Alice. And then Jeanette. We're both muted. I was muted telling you you were muted. Let's try again. Alice, you're muted.
Is that better? Can you hear me now? Okay, and Dave just handed me a book about, this is Kandinsky, and he went the other direction, taking the music and going to the art. And so here, I don't know if you can see this page here. You might recognize Beethoven's Fifth. And he then drew dots and a line and dot drawing. So you could take music that you're working on and also translate it into abstract art and go the other direction. So it's just something to perhaps consider. Yeah, just wanted to share that since it was great in the Kandinsky book.
Very nice. Thank you. Jeanette.
So this inspired me to come to the next step, which is, how students also have cell phone and we like taking pictures. And sometimes we take pictures that, let's say instead of a cup, you will go really, really close to something, and then on like a knife and really, really close, and then you will take a picture of an enlarged image, an enlarged object, and you'll be noticing the lines. And then we can ask the students, okay, go around in your environment and take a kind of abstract picture, and then move to that line, and then we will become more attentive to the lines and shapes all around us.
Lovely. That's a great one. That's a great one. Who else? We've got about 15 minutes, so we have a nice little chunk of time. Marlene.
Hi. Inner city, fast food. You can start off a class with what's that, and if you're telling the class what topic it is, it could be a pizza. You put your arms like this, kids will say church, but it's really Pizza Hut. You go like this, that's Kentucky Fried Chicken, and that's McDonald's. So once you get the class on that page, it can turn into a song. Pizza Hut, Pizza Hut, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut, Pizza Hut, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut. McDonald's, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut. Where that came from, I don't know, but it is wonderful to see the kids move to this song. And then I love your ideas that you can then invent your own, but that just popped into my head.
Super nice. Again, a great example of known to unknown, right? Who else? What do you want to think about? Francoise, it's so nice to see you.
Yes, hi everybody. It's very interesting to listen to all of you. I was just wondering, Kay, if it could be possible for you also to send to Veronica your harmonic sequences, because they're beautiful. I never did this scale, down with those chords, and it's really nice. Could you share that with us?
No problem at all, of course, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There's a note from Rebecca in the chat. So I'll just read it because her mic isn't working. She says, in the Waldorf world, we teach that everything is made up of curves or straight lines. People could find curves and straight lines in their space. They could trace them to get the experience of the movement and then transition to those feelings as an improv. Thank you, Rebecca.
So I think a very similar, maybe identical actually, set of ideas is when I am teaching my undergrads, or actually almost anybody that I teach, we start at an early class usually and say the purpose of music is to feel. So I make the claim early on that the goal of musicking, of making music, is not to create pretty sounds in an environment, but is actually to spur the body to feel, to experience. And so in that case, if anybody's willing to go with me on that sort of statement, then we can look at the lines, the curves in the Waldorf world, the curves and straight lines of the Waldorf world, the squiggles and bold and thin of the Kandinsky, the shapes of each of the car logos, as all just other examples of what feels. So rather than assuming that the Audi logo is a static image, we assume or build into the disposition of teaching it that it isn't static at all. It's full of motion, and motion is what feels. And so at that point, it's a very quick tie to these are same. They're not two different things. They're both music when they both add this element of it feels or it is performative. And I think that idea, whether I'm explicit about it, with one group, or it's just in the philosophy of the teaching, from the beginning, is that the goal of what we're trying to do is to notice that the body feels, which is based in motion, and that we can then recognize that motion, all around us. And at that point, we start to have, really concrete ties between. Catherine, tell us some more.
There was an absolutely brilliant bit in the class's composition where they all were in different lines, walking towards the front of the room, doing these really strong citron chevrons like this, all totally in unison. And I was sat watching, and it was so powerful. I was actually really scared with this whole class coming towards me, kind of almost like Wagner. And they loved the fact that they were making me scared. So that idea that they can create that feeling in somebody else as well as they've got it themselves. It was really powerful. It was amazing.
Super. Who else? Dory?
I just want to share an activity that I did many years ago when I was working in an elementary school in Cleveland. And it was similar to what someone here, one of the gals, talked about, but I started with music because we were talking about feeling, and I put on Debussy, and all the kids had paper and crayons and had to draw sort of reflecting what they were hearing and going through in the music. And it was a short clip. And when we finished, I had them exchange their drawings with each other and then move to the drawing that they had. So they didn't exactly move to their own drawing, but they shared the feeling of what they drew to another child who moved according to what that picture was. So
That's
just
so nice.
something different.
No, and I love those ideas. You know, it's the same thing that we do as a teacher when we say who's got some version of who's got something to show, and they show us their motion that they just improvised on the spot, and then we accompany it. And so the idea that we would give validity to what anybody creates, and even more so when the anybody is a 5-year-old. You know, so when a 5-year-old creates, and then we acknowledge that creation as valid and useful and powerful or exciting or fun or whatever, and then we accompany it, and then we invite everybody to participate in it. Any of those ways of sort of acknowledging in a safe way what any student has sort of taken the risk of making is such powerful and important work. I love those ideas.
It's fantastic.
Who has who's got another? We still have a couple minutes.
I'm not sure, but I might have seen Jill kind of waving. Did you want to say
Yeah,
something?
Jill, you got something? Thank you.
Well, so much. Because this is what I do in my camp, where we link everything together to build belief. We dance a piece of art, we sing a line, we experience what you said in a way, Stephen, that when we feel, we actually realize we feel. Some people don't know that they can feel, and those emotions come out. And through that, and like what you're saying, also the belief that is built within the person and then is shared with the other people, and then, you know, congratulated for doing something. There's nothing like this. This is why Delcros is so phenomenal. But I'd like to go to Catherine and ask you about your unison. You asked them all to pick their things, their picture, but then how do you get them all to unison?
So they had their own logo to start with, then they paired up with somebody else and taught each other their different logos. So I made sure that the pairings were of different logos. And then they performed those in unison. The first logo, then the other person's logo in unison. And then we built a big movement composition with the whole class, using everybody's ideas. So the chevron idea was somebody's, and we said that would be really nice if we all did it.
Okay, so you just picked one all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, led by them, really. I was just facilitating what they wanted to do and helping them use the space better.
The power of unison, nothing like it. And isn't that what we all miss the most, being together? Having that sense of working one by one together with the other. That's really missed. Thank you. This is wonderful.
Still a little bit of time.
I think Adriana is raising her hand.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a book by Gilles Comeau. Gilles Comeau, he's teaching in Canada, in which he has 2 books for older kids, in which he teaches art, some pictures with amazing movement and music. He has 2 books of them. I have them somewhere, but check out his name.
If you type it in the chat, if you would type that in the chat for us, Adriana, then we'll know.
Because he's doing this interdisciplinary stuff, which is amazing. He also wrote a book about analyzing all this music philosophies of Orff Kodály and Dalcroze. Also, he has a book, a very thin one, but also he does a lot of interdisciplinary things, and he has amazing material. I'm going to Right in the chat right now. Where do I do that? Oh my God.
Very good.
I am on my iPad and I don't know how to do this.
That's okay. You'll figure that out. I
I
want
will.
to thank you, Adriana.
Okay.
I just want to bring up Kay's chords again. The idea, again, just in case some of the people in the room here are a little bit new to the work, you know, we have the tradition of leading most of our classes from the piano. Is the most traditional version of the Dalcroze instruction. Not at all the only way, but is certainly the most traditional way. And what I believe everybody experiences is you kind of get into these routines, you get into these cycles where you end up kind of playing the same stuff, and you alter it for whatever it needs to be altered for. But we all kind of have our go-to keys, and we have our go-to rhythms, and we have our go-to voicings, and our go-to, you know, like, I don't know how you wouldn't. And we spend, at least in my case, lifetimes trying to expand that vocabulary. And so what Kay's participating in right now, where she's really hunting out some advanced instruction and really challenging herself on a secondary instrument. I mean, it's all so inspirational just to see that. We always say at our school, if you're too comfortable, you're not learning. And you know, it's just so true. And so it's really wonderful to hear those new sounds and to have some chords. I started when you started presenting, I started doing covert screenshots for my own edification. And then it occurred to me, wait a second, we're recording this. And I actually own the recording. Like I like have it. And so I didn't need to behind the scenes snap a couple shots, but it was really wonderful to have you present that, both for the actual progressions, these specific progressions and voicings, but then also just to be that model of the Dalcrozian who has not learned enough and is searching out new ways of being, new ways of going. I'll just give you all the slightest anecdote. At our training center, we get inquiries, sort of regularly. There's people, poking around, and I heard about this Dalcroze thing, or I heard, I saw somebody do a little demonstration once, and I'm thinking about coming in. And one of the very first things that I try to help them understand, and I try to get an answer to, is before we're all gonna really sign up to camp out for hours and hours and hours together, we both need to know that we're here with a spirit of curiosity, a spirit of learning, a spirit where I'm interested in pushing myself a little bit more, as opposed to a different spirit that I'm sure we're all very familiar with as well, which is, can you just give me some easy things to do so that I don't go crazy when I'm in my classroom? And so rather than the Dalcroze work being, a really convenient pile of here's, 40 lesson plans that we all, can keep using, I believe that the people who really thrive in this space are the people who are themselves trying to learn, rather than thinking I am the teacher. It works so much better if we can find the place where we realize I am the student and I'm co-learning with my students. And so Kay, I just thought that the way you presented and kind of, I know Kay a little bit, and I just knowing her and what she's up to, I think she's just a wonderful model of that as well. We have 3 minutes. Anybody who's got a question or a statement? What's going on? Oh yeah, Catherine.
I just wondered if it was a good time to let you know, Mary Price O'Connor and I have started an Instagram account called Dalcroze Subjects, where we're sharing pictures that we've taken, not professional photos from anybody, they're just pictures we've taken. So if you want to follow us or send us pictures to put on there, we'd be really grateful. Outstanding.
Make sure that you email us, Veronica and me, the link, and we'll push that out. Actually, Veronica, we're kind of at the end, so we should probably give a couple announcements and then wrap this up.
Yeah. So next meetup is in 2 weeks. You're all welcome. Bring your friends. I forget what time it is. Either it's this time or the other time. We try to flip-flop for those of you who are new, so that people can join in different continents. Some people are always sleeping at some point, and so we flip-flop time so that we can make it possible for lots of people to come. There's a masterclass this weekend with Elda and Ellie Trevino, and it's going to be either Saturday if you live in the Americas or Sunday if you live in Europe or Africa or somewhere in Asia or Australia. And she is going to be using lullabies as her theme to give us all a Zoom masterclass. Emma, you wanted to share about scholarships?
We have them, and we would like to be able to welcome anyone who is interested in coming. And so if you have friends who are in school, if you have friends who are in need, if you yourself would like some support, it's here, and all you have to do is ask. There's no other requirement. We are happy to help, and we would like for you to spread the word. This is such a unique time for all of us, and here we are available and open to each other, and so we'd love to extend that welcome.
Very good. The oh yeah, Anita.
Where are the scholarships? What's the institution?
So just send an email to virtualdalcroze@gmail.com. I'll type that in the chat. That's the email address for this whole Virtual Dalcroze project, and the website is virtualdalcroze.org. So the project is a partnership between the institutions of Integral Steps and the Carnegie Mellon Dalcroze Center, and it's like those two formal legal institutions working together to create this project.
And you can also find links to everything: scholarships, masterclasses, archives, general philosophy of the Virtual Dalcroze meetup at the website. So virtualdalcroze.org is the sort of central place to find, branches out to all the things. If you all have questions or comments or suggestions, or looking for ways to volunteer, or you'd like to support the scholarship fund, or you've got ideas for 5-minute presentations from you or your colleagues, we would welcome all of that. It is on the hour here, and so we work really hard to respect everybody's time. We try to start on time and end on time. And so with that, I thank you all so much. What a lovely, for me, what a lovely afternoon. It was really great seeing everyone, and we hope that we'll see you back at Elda Nelly's masterclass. Do sign up. And at the next VDM. Have a nice one.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. I thought the lullaby masterclass was on the 21st. Is there anybody there?
I could have made a mistake.
That's what I have, and I just wanted to make sure, because that's...
Yeah, let me check.
Thanks.
I hope I didn't send something out wrong, like in the last... It is the 21st. It is not this Saturday.
Oh, okay, great.
Totally right. My mistake.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Anything
Laura.
Veronica...
Thank you.
Anytime Veronica says anything, I just assume that it's always correct. So I don't even...
Oh, thank you. But that is probably a bad assumption to make.
I don't even question.